Undoubtedly, my hobby bench was the thing I'd missed the most. It served as my sanctuary, a place for soul healing. There was nothing wrong with my soul, it's just an interesting way to convey a degree of unhappiness. Somewhere along the line, things fell apart, and there's no specific time I can pinpoint because it happened gradually. I'm quite handy around the house, capable of fixing almost anything. I dislike calling a repairman for a simple task and paying him almost a whole day's wages for a few hours of subpar work. Anyway, what I can't fix is my marriage. To explain, it's like a fine piece of china. You can glue a broken plate back together, but it's never like the original. Once a marriage is broken, it can be repaired but never restored to its original condition. I didn't want a patched up broken plate. After 18 years of marriage, my wife Tracy decided to explore relationships with other men, at least one that I know of. By the time I found out, it was too late to prevent the breakage. Slowly recognizing relationship issues, I assumed everything was fine. We married right after high school, had a daughter named Carly immediately, and complications meant we couldn't have more, but we were content. My job as an auto body man paid well, but there was no real future to it. I could open my shop, but I never desired business ownership. Things were fine as long as the money was adequate. Tracy spent the evening taking night classes at the local community college, a bit more ambitious than I, actually a lot more ambitious. When Carly started school, Tracy began working, improving our family life with the extra money. With two incomes, we scraped up enough to buy a small house in a nice neighborhood. There was never a desire for a bigger or better place. For years, Tracy didn't waste money on frivolous things, dressing and grooming well while watching expenses. My wardrobe expenses were usually limited to jeans and flannel shirts. She cleaned up well, but I always looked a bit unkempt with my bushy eyebrows and long hair in a ponytail. Not a wannabe hippie or biker. I just liked my hair that way. No one teased me. I had enough body build to intimidate them if necessary. The downside to my grooming habits was Tracy's occasional embarrassment when we went out. She never said anything, but I always felt it. As Carly grew, Tracy spent more time at work, becoming an expert in insurance claims. She enjoyed her work, bringing home more money than me without comment. By Carly's high school years, Tracy evolved into a sophisticated businesswoman, spending more on clothing as her status grew. Frequent trips to the beauty salon and nights at the gym transformed her into an attractive woman, while I remain a grungy, hairy embarrassment. The next step in our marriage's progression was inevitable. Over the years, my relationship with Carly grew stronger. I spent more time with her than her mother, and we developed a bond. Tracy was either at work or working at home. Family time decreased as fast as Tracy's career increased. Our personal time also dwindled. She was always too tired, and I sensed I was no longer the focal point of her attention. Man she once dreamed of spending her life with. I grew up in a public housing project. My mother, a single parent, raised my brother Robert and me by working as a waitress. It was tough for her, and we didn't make it any easier, constantly in trouble as that was the nature of life in the projects. Many of my character traits carried into my marriage. I was rash and quick-tempered, which landed me in juvenile hall a few too many times. Tracy was aware of the problem, but since we were married, I had kept it under control and actually became a little placid. As Tracy and I drifted apart, I sought solace in my basement hobby shop, a dank little hole. Distressed about my failing marriage, I didn't know what to do. Despite trying the usual things like flowers and gifts, weekly expensive dinners, and good wine, nothing worked. In despair, I retreated into my little haven at every opportunity. Carly remained the bright spot in my life, but I felt I was letting her down. I viewed myself as a defective father and husband. Were these feelings self-induced, or did Tracy impose them on me? She loved me. She would never do that. To divert my mind from my shortcomings, I spent hours creating electronic gadgets, simple projects available anywhere. My first project, a fake video surveillance camera, was fun to make, although it served no real purpose. As I gained experience, my projects became more elaborate, yet I never advanced beyond being a mere tinker. During weekends, Carly and I frequented yard sales and flea markets. She acquired retro clothes, While I collected old electronic and remote control toys, Tracy stayed at home. 2 months ago, I sensed Tracy was cheating. It didn't take me long to verify it. She was visiting Todd Wick, a coworker, at his apartment every Tuesday and Thursday for 2-hour lunches. Tracy hadn't made much effort to conceal the relationship. I didn't know if she felt complacent or just didn't give a damn. The plate was broken, irreparable at this point. I decided that something had to be done. I spent the whole day preparing for my departure. Carly was starting college in 3 weeks, and everything was paid up for the first 2 semesters. Although I'd miss her, I felt it was time to cut the apron strings. I took half of the savings account, unconcerned about other financial matters. I just needed enough to get away and get started over. Opting for divorce seemed overly convoluted and archaic to me. Instead, I instructed my attorney to draft a power of attorney for Tracy, granting her the authority to sell the house. Additionally, legal papers were prepared to initiate a lawsuit against Todd Wickham and Continental Memorial Insurance, although my hopes for substantial success were tempered by their shared workplace. Nonetheless, my attorney, driven by the prospect of a potential percentage, was eager to pursue any avenue. I gave him the green light to proceed with legal action. The bulk of the evening was dedicated to refining my modified alarm keychain, which had evolved beyond its original purpose into a device boasting an unexpectedly piercing alarm for its size. I enhanced its capabilities by upgrading the battery to a 9-volt one, ensuring increased volume and duration. I configured it for remote activation, making sure it couldn't be deactivated manually. Encased within a 3-inch polyvinyl chloride shell with meticulously drilled holes and a small antenna wire protruding, the device exuded an air of sophistication. After its assembly, I capped it with polyvinyl chloride ends and coated it with flat black barbecue paint, adding to its inconspicuous appearance. As night descended, enveloping our abode in darkness, I found myself methodically plotting my exit strategy. Each detail meticulously calculated, each step a deliberate move towards my newfound freedom. The lingering scent of fresh paint hung in the air, bearing silent witness to my covert preparations. Concealed within the paint lay a mechanism of rebellion, a tool of disruption with a purpose known only to me. With Tracy retired to bed, unaware of the schemes unfolding under the cloak of night, my task became even more seamless. With practiced finesse, I discreetly implanted the gadget into her purse lining, nestled within a side pocket poised to sow confusion and frustration upon its activation. Satisfied with my handiwork, I turned my focus to the final arrangements, loading my truck with the tools of my trade, silent witnesses to the life I was leaving behind. The dawn of a new day signaled the culmination of my meticulously orchestrated departure. Tracy, oblivious to the tempest brewing within our home, bid me farewell as she embarked on her daily routine. Alone in the quiet expanse of our abode, I set about gathering the remnants of my former life, a silent observer to the echoes of a family fractured. It was then that Carly, my beacon of truth, confronted me, her unwavering gaze piercing through the facade of indifference. We retreated to the sanctuary of the kitchen, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavy in the air. In the hush of the morning, Carly divulged her knowledge of Tracy's transgressions, a revelation that shook the foundations of our fractured existence. I divulged my plans for departure, the uncertainty of the road ahead tempered by Carly's unwavering support. As I hitched the boat to the truck, a relic of familial aspirations now relegated to the annals of memory, I found solace in the knowledge that amidst the chaos of departure, there remained a beacon of unwavering support in the form of my daughter, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Tracy never really warmed up to the idea of the boat, water wasn't her element, and Carly and I seldom embarked on solo voyages after her interest waned. It morphed into a relic of dashed dreams rather than a vessel of exploration, and I found myself indifferent to its departure from my life. Regarding the firearms and deer rifle handed down by my father, they seemed better suited in Felix's hands, who could make practical use of them despite hunting not being his forte. Collecting my snap-on and power tools, reminiscent of my days as Mr. Handyman, I loaded them onto the boat, bidding farewell to a chapter I was eager to close. Upon reaching Felix's abode, I discovered him barely awake, accompanied by his 2 canine companions who appeared more inclined towards morning slumber than conversation. Over a couple of early morning beers, Felix and I delved into memories of our teenage escapades, particularly our ill-fated attempt to pilfer copper fittings from a golf course maintenance shed. While I faced a slap on the wrist and 2 years of probation, Felix managed to evade capture, solidifying our enduring bond forged in the fires of youthful mischief. As I elucidated the purpose behind the boat's arrival, jokingly designating Felix as my sole friend, his interest piqued. Handing over the boat and trailer title, I made an unusual request, which raised a few eyebrows. I tasked Felix with making a few trips to the emergency room or recovery ward on my behalf, stressing my desire for pain rather than death upon the intended target, Todd Wickham. With a knowing grin, Felix accepted the assignment, his smile widening as I provided him with a 3x5 card bearing Todd's details. The unexpected addition of power tools and firearms didn't faze Felix. Rather, he embraced them with ease, showcasing his steadfast loyalty. As we bid farewell, a sense of gratitude washed over me for having someone like Felix in my corner, a solitary beacon of trust amidst a sea of betrayal. As Tuesday dawned, Tracy and Todd emerged from the company building, their demeanor betraying nothing of the affair that had shattered my world. Following them to Todd's apartment, I bided my time, waiting for the opportune moment to set my plan in motion. With a press of a button, the stage was set, the first act in a carefully choreographed symphony of retribution. Upon arrival at the apartment building, frustration mounted as my gadget remained stubbornly silent, defying my every attempt to coax it into action. Perplexed by its malfunction, I pondered my next move, settling on the drastic measure of deflating Todd's tires, a small victory amidst a sea of setbacks. With a steely resolve, I approached the building once more, determination etched upon my features, and at last, the device sprung to life, its shrill beeping echoing through the halls, a symphony of sweet revenge. As I made my way back to the truck, a grin crept across my face, buoyed by the knowledge that my plan was finally unfolding as intended. Meanwhile, my lawyer was orchestrating the delivery of lawsuit papers to Todd and his company, ensuring that justice would soon be served. With everything falling into place, I had only one task left: to bid farewell to my daughter and embark on my journey to freedom. Upon returning home, Carly greeted me with a card bearing her college address and cell phone number, a gesture of love and support that warmed my heart. With a sense of finality, I left behind my wedding ring and a power of attorney, entrusting Carly with the responsibility of explaining my departure to her mother. As I hit the road, Tracy's call pierced the silence, but I silenced my phone, refusing to be drawn back into the tumult of our broken relationship. Guided by the hum of Interstate 81 South, I ventured into the unknown, seeking solace in the open road. However, my escape was not without its obstacles, as a night of excess led to the theft of my beloved body shop tools, a bitter reminder of the price of recklessness. Undeterred, I pressed on, determined to forge a new path for myself in the bustling city of Nashville. Amidst a sea of job listings, one ad caught my eye: a call for an auto damage appraiser at Conrad Insurance Company, a role perfectly suited to my skills and experience. With a newfound sense of purpose, I made my way to the interview, clad in attire ill-suited for the occasion but determined to make a lasting impression. As I awaited my appointment, I deleted a string of missed calls from Tracy, choosing instead to focus on the opportunity that lay before me. With each passing moment, anticipation built, and as I stepped into the office, I knew that my journey was only just beginning. When I arrived, everyone was well dressed and looked good. Each of them had a folder in hand, which I assumed was a resume. They each entered the manager's office, stayed for about 5 minutes, and then left. I felt pretty good because I didn't think I could do worse than they did. The man behind the desk was dressed well, but the clothes didn't quite fit him. He appeared rugged, with cracked skin and faded tattoos peeking out from various parts of his clothes. But what caught my attention the most were his hands. They were rough and gnarly, much like mine. He wasn't an executive. He was more like a blue-collar worker dressed in office attire. He noticed me smiling and gave a slight smile back. It didn't take him long to read over the interview form I had filled out in the lobby. I didn't leave half of the spaces empty to be a smartass. I simply lacked the information to fill them. "I'm Daniel Hemingway," I clarified to him, "and no, I'm not related to the famous author." He seemed relieved and mentioned that he wouldn't want intellectuals hanging around the office. Grady Burgess, the man I was talking to, introduced himself and asked about my presence. I made it clear that I wouldn't try to con him, having witnessed the other candidates being excused for attempting to give him any nonsense. I explained that I got drunk the night before in Chattanooga, and all my shop gear was stolen from my truck while I slept it off. I mentioned how hard it was to get a shop job without the necessary gear, so this opportunity seemed like a good alternative. Grady seemed to understand, but he sensed there might be more to the story. I admitted that my judgment was clouded due to finding out about my wife cheating on me after 18 years of marriage. Grady asked about my wife's current location, and I replied that she was in Pennsylvania. He called Marcy, a woman in her mid-40s, to bring us 2 coffees. She set down 2 plain white ceramic cups without cream or sugar. Grady instructed her with a loud voice to cancel the rest of the appointments, indicating that they found what they were looking for. Marcy gave Grady a scowl and then gave me a little wink. Feeling a little sheepish, I noticed Grady was smiling at my embarrassment. We chatted for about 2 hours, and then he carefully explained to me what the job entailed, as well as the pay and benefits. The only downside to the whole deal were the image requirements. 80% of my job was going to involve contact with customers, and image was paramount. That meant a haircut and a complete change in grooming habits. I was expected to get a new wardrobe and a shoe shine kit. He emphasized that Marcy would personally help me with everything that needed to be done. I was expected to be in Atlanta by Monday morning for a full week of training. Conrad Insurance was an independent company but worked as a subcontractor for several larger national auto insurers. Everything had to be done to specific standards. Throughout the week of training, Marcy took an unexpectedly keen interest in my transformation, turning me into something of a personal project. She took charge of my grooming regimen, insisting on a visit to a traditional barber rather than a hair salon. Despite my initial reservations, I found myself yielding to her suggestions, allowing her to make all the grooming decisions. The barber session turned into a comprehensive grooming session, with my eyebrows, ears, and even nose hairs receiving meticulous attention. Marcy even arranged for future appointments every 10 days, ensuring my maintenance remained on track. As for my wardrobe, Marcy left no stone unturned. She curated a selection of khaki pants, white shirts, and a perfectly coordinating jacket, elevating my attire to a more polished and professional standard. Additionally, she equipped me with 2 pairs of sleek black steel-toed dress shoes, along with a generous supply of black socks. With her guidance, I also secured a modest studio apartment, where Marcy assisted in setting up the essentials. On the administrative front, I obtained my Tennessee driver's license and received the keys to my company car and a laptop computer, marking the official commencement of my new role. Marcy bid me farewell with a supportive kiss on the cheek, her admiration evident, although the suggestion of anything beyond professional gratitude left me slightly unsettled. Later, during my conversation with Carly, I shared the details of my new job conducting appraisals in the field. I attributed my swift hiring to fortuitous timing and expressed gratitude for the opportunity. Our conversation shifted to family matters, with Carly revealing Mom's unexpected reaction to my departure. It seemed Mom had been uncharacteristically subdued, engaging in peculiar rituals at home. Reflecting on the unintended disruption I caused, I expressed regret for upsetting Mom's plans, while Carly speculated on Mom's anticipation of a confrontation that never materialized. Transitioning to lighter topics, I inquired about Carly's plans, learning of her intention to resume her studies once Mom had regained her composure. We exchanged well wishes, with Carly expressing her happiness at my newfound success and optimism for Mom's recovery. Promising to keep in touch, I bid Carly farewell, grateful for her unwavering support during this transitional period. The training classes in Atlanta were a snap. It was mostly about putting the right information in the right block. The hardest part was overcoming my weak computer skills. I had no trouble getting a few of the young female trainees to tutor me, but I found it difficult to resist their charms. They seemed disappointed in my reserve. Over the next 2 years, Grady was quite pleased with my job performance and was generous with the raises and bonuses. I talked with Carly on a regular basis. She was doing fine in all her classes and with her social life. It was nice to see that she was dating, but as a father, I was a little anxious about the whole scene. She laughed at my concern. I never heard from Tracy. There had not appeared to be any attempt on her part to contact me. I was not hiding, so if she had wanted to reach out, she could have. About my sudden advancement, I probed further. Grady clarified that while they had tried hiring young graduates, they lacked the practical experience and the right demeanor for the job. He emphasized that my years of experience and my demeanor, honed from years of working in the field, made me the perfect fit for the position. Grady's words left me stunned, feeling a mix of pride and anxiety. The idea of running a national operation was exhilarating, but it also meant leaving behind the familiar and venturing into the unknown. Grady sensed my hesitation and reassured me that I was more than capable of handling the job. He emphasized the potential for growth and advancement, urging me to consider the opportunity seriously. As I sipped the coffee Marcy had brought, I contemplated the offer. It was a chance to step into a leadership role to challenge myself in new ways, but it also meant uprooting my life once again. Grady left me to ponder, promising to discuss it further after my interview on Friday. The days leading up to the interview were filled with anticipation and nerves. I spent hours researching the company, preparing answers to potential questions, and practicing my presentation. Marcy provided moral support, assuring me that I was more than qualified for the job. When Friday arrived, I found myself sitting in the lobby of American Consolidated Claims, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. The interview went smoothly, and by the end of it, I felt a glimmer of hope that I might actually land the position. A week elapsed, and finally, the anticipated call arrived. American Consolidated Claims extended me the job offer, presenting an enticing package encompassing a handsome salary and comprehensive benefits. It was a moment I had long awaited, a chance to propel my career to unprecedented heights, a dream materializing into reality. Without a moment's hesitation, I seized the opportunity, recognizing it as a pivotal moment in my professional journey. As I meticulously packed my belongings for the relocation to Houston, a profound sense of pride and anticipation coursed through me. Grady and Marcy's unwavering belief in my potential had now culminated in this remarkable opportunity, and it was incumbent upon me to validate their faith. However, when I relayed my decision to Tracy, her reaction was one of palpable surprise. It was evident she hadn't anticipated my choice. I elaborated, elucidating that while the job and its associated perks were undeniably attractive, I had other pressing commitments and priorities that demanded my attention and focus. Driving back to Nashville, a wave of relief washed over me, tempering the initial excitement of the job offer. Declining such a promising opportunity wasn't a decision taken lightly, but deep within, I sensed it was the most prudent course for me. Tracy's unexpected reappearance had stirred dormant emotions I had endeavored to bury, signaling that I wasn't yet prepared to confront those unresolved feelings. Upon returning home, I sought refuge in the comforting embrace of my familiar routine. Immersed in my responsibilities at Conrad Insurance, I channeled my energy with newfound determination. Grady and Marcy, perceptive as ever, noticed the subtle shift within me, yet they refrained from probing further. Respecting my autonomy, they continued to extend their unwavering support and anchor amidst the tumult of uncertainty. Life settled back into a comfortable rhythm, and I focused on rebuilding my relationship with Carly. We spent more time together, going on weekend trips and catching up on lost time. Our bond grew stronger with each passing day, and I cherished every moment we shared. Tracy's occasional calls became less frequent over time, and eventually, they stopped altogether. I didn't dwell on it, choosing instead to focus on the present and the future. I had learned to let go of the past and embrace the possibilities that lay ahead. In the end, turning down the job offer in Houston was one of the best decisions I ever made. It allowed me to prioritize what truly mattered in life and set me on a path that led to fulfillment and happiness. And as I looked back on my journey, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the twists and turns that had brought me to where I was today. Situations now. I took a moment to gather my thoughts, acknowledging that I had indeed grown and matured since our last encounter. I assured Mr. Peak that I had developed strategies for managing challenging situations, drawing on my experiences and personal growth over the past few years. Despite the initial tension, our conversation gradually shifted back to the present opportunity. Mr. Peak outlined the responsibilities of the position and the company's expectations. He emphasized the importance of adaptability and resilience, qualities that I had honed through my diverse experiences. Diving deeper into the intricacies of the role, I found myself increasingly captivated. While the challenges loomed large, so did the tantalizing potential rewards that lay within reach. Mr. Peak's fervor for the company's vision proved infectious, igniting within me a burgeoning sense of belonging and purpose within their ranks. As the interview drew to a close, a genuine sense of excitement bubbled within me at the prospect of joining emergency medical technician Peak's team. Mr. Peak's satisfaction with our discussion was evident, culminating in an offer extended right then and there. Without a moment's hesitation, I embraced the opportunity, buoyed by a swell of pride and anticipation for the journey that lay ahead. Exiting the premises, I couldn't help but indulge in a moment of reflection, tracing the winding path that had led me to this pivotal juncture. Each twist and turn, every decision and obstacle, had contributed to shaping the individual I had become. And as my gaze shifted toward the horizon of the future, a renewed sense of purpose and determination coursed through my veins. Returning home, I eagerly shared the news with Grady and Marcy, whose elation mirrored my own. Their unwavering support and encouragement served as a powerful reaffirmation of their belief in my capabilities. With their steadfast backing, I felt emboldened, fortified in my readiness to confront whatever challenges awaited me. Preparing to embark on this new chapter, I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of gratitude for the myriad opportunities that had graced my path. Though life had thrown its fair share of curveballs, my resilience, coupled with the unwavering support of those who stood by me, had seen me through every trial and tribulation. Stepping boldly into the next phase of my career, I did so with an unwavering confidence, knowing that whatever trials or triumphs awaited me, I was equipped and prepared to meet them head on, with unwavering resolve and steadfast determination. Her question about the black object under the glass dome lingered in the air, a silent invitation to delve deeper into the complexities of our shared history. Part of me yearned to unravel the mystery, to understand the significance behind its presence, yet another part recoiled at the thought of reopening old wounds. Tracy seemed to sense my inner conflict, her expression shifting to one of contemplation as she settled back into her chair, her demeanor softened by a hint of remorse. "Daniel, I know I've inflicted deep wounds upon you," she began, her voice carrying the weight of sincerity. "And I don't expect forgiveness. But I do hope for understanding, for closure." Her words, tinged with vulnerability, pierced through the walls I had erected around my heart, stirring a mixture of emotions within me. Despite my reluctance, I found myself drawn into her narrative, compelled to grasp the intricacies of her perspective. Tracy's recounting of our shared struggles and her own inner turmoil resonated with me in unexpected ways, evoking a sense of empathy amidst the sea of resentment and anger. It became apparent that our marriage had been a battleground for personal demons, each of us grappling with our own insecurities and fears. Yet, even as I acknowledged her pain, a part of me remained guarded, unwilling to relinquish the scars of betrayal. As Tracy's voice trailed off into silence, a palpable tension hung between us, laden with unspoken truths and unresolved emotions. In that fleeting moment, our eyes met, a silent exchange of understanding and acknowledgement. Yet, despite her plea for closure, the wounds of the past remained raw and unhealed. With a heavy sigh, I rose from my seat, the weight of our shared history bearing down upon me. "I appreciate your candor, Tracy," I spoke, my voice steady despite the turmoil swirling within me. "But perhaps it's time to lay the past to rest, to embrace the promise of a new beginning." With those words, I turned away, leaving Tracy to grapple with her own reflections. As I made my way back to the elevator, a sense of closure washed over me, a newfound clarity amidst the fog of uncertainty. Whatever transpired between Tracy and me, I was ready to release the burdens of the past, to forge ahead into the unknown with renewed resolve. And as the doors closed behind me, I welcomed the dawn of a new chapter, unburdened by the shackles of yesterday. Tracy's gaze urged me to delve deeper into the conversation, her curiosity evident as she awaited my response. With a sigh, I began to explain the significance of the small alarm, how it served as a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the consequences of a single misstep. However, My attempt to elucidate was interrupted by Tracy's clarification regarding her liaison with Todd, a single event that held far more weight than I had realized. Before parting ways, I had implored Tracy to offer an explanation that transcended cliches, a request to which she responded with an admission of her own uncertainty. Reminding her of her prior conversation with Carly, Tracy confessed that her revelation had come too late, leaving me to ponder the implications of her words. Intrigued by Tracy's cryptic remark, I probed further, prompting her to recount the events leading up to our separation. As she spoke, it became evident that her relationship with Todd was not a spontaneous indiscretion but a carefully orchestrated plan, a plan designed to elicit a response from me, to provoke a reaction that would force us to confront the underlying issues in our marriage. Tracy's revelation left me grappling with a maelstrom of emotions, torn between resentment and a begrudging admiration for her honesty. Her admission forced me to confront the complexities of our relationship, challenging me to reevaluate my role in its unraveling. With each passing moment, Tracy's narrative unveiled new layers of our shared history, exposing the insecurities and vulnerabilities that had long been buried beneath the surface. Yet, amidst the turmoil, there was a glimmer of understanding, a realization that perhaps our marriage had been doomed from the start, destined to crumble under the weight of unmet expectations and unspoken desires. As Tracy continued to speak, I couldn't help but feel a sense of resignation wash over me. Her words served as a stark reminder of the futility of our attempts to change one another, highlighting the inherent flaws in our misguided quest for perfection. In that moment, as Tracy bared her soul before me, I couldn't help but wonder what might have been. Yet, amidst the chaos of our shattered dreams, there was a flicker of hope, a hope that perhaps, in confronting our past, we might find a way to forge a new path forward. When Carly confronted Tracy, she found herself unable to articulate the underlying motivations behind her actions, but she possessed a keen awareness of her intentions. Despite not yet consummating her relationship with Todd, she didn't harbor overwhelming guilt, although Carly's probing questions did unsettle her to some extent. Embracing accountability, Tracy openly admitted to her missteps, acknowledging the harm inflicted upon both her husband and daughter. In response to my inquiry about the nature of their relationship, Tracy candidly confessed, assuming full responsibility for her actions. She recognized the shared responsibility in such matters but emphasized Todd's failure to intervene despite his capacity to do so. In the ensuing silence, I found myself grappling with a myriad of emotions, prompting a temporary cessation of further inquiries. Approximately 2 weeks subsequent to Carly's confrontation, Tracy and Todd found themselves in the solitude of his apartment, seeking solace in wine, an activity Tracy deemed detrimental to their well-being. Amidst her growing despair over my apparent obliviousness, a series of events unfolded, ultimately leading to a drunken liaison. Despite acknowledging the suboptimal circumstances, Tracy affirmed the validity of their physical intimacy. Following this encounter, they distanced themselves from each other for a fortnight, during which Tracy's emotional state deteriorated, attributing her turmoil to my perceived indifference. She lamented her descent into infidelity, attributing her actions to a sense of neglect within our marriage, characterizing her behavior as reckless. Despite recognizing the folly of her actions, Tracy found herself unable to extricate herself from the downward spiral, sinking deeper into despair. A subsequent reunion with Todd a week later precipitated further intimacy, culminating in yet another encounter the following week, which unfortunately coincided with my discovery of their transgressions, albeit belatedly. Tracy expressed profound regret for her delayed realization, speculating on the alternate course our lives might have taken had she acted sooner. I responded, suggesting she walk a mile in my shoes before passing judgment, admitting my retort was as sharp as I could muster on short notice. As I rose to leave, tears welled up in her eyes, and as I exited, I heard an audible sob. 8 hours later, back in Nashville, I relayed the conversation's details to Carly, urging her to reach out to her mother, though she seemed less than eager. A week later, armed with a new pickup and a substantial bankroll, I found myself in Yuba City. Coat had decided to sell his auto body shop and relocate to Hawaii. Confident in my ability to run the business, I seized the opportunity, ready to embark on a new chapter in my life. Taking a deep breath, I unfolded the note that accompanied the mysterious package. The handwriting was familiar, yet distant, stirring a cocktail of emotions within me. It simply read, Daniel, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I hope you can find it in your heart to accept this as a token of my remorse. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but please know that I am truly sorry for everything, Tracy. My foreman stood before me, his gaze expectant, waiting an explanation that I struggled to articulate amidst the whirlwind of conflicting emotions swirling within me. Anger, sadness, and a profound sense of betrayal vied for dominance in the recesses of my mind, each emotion waging its own battle for recognition. With trembling hands, I gingerly reached for the object nestled within the confines of the small box, a black plastic item adorned with minuscule perforations that dotted its surface. In an instant, its identity became unmistakable. It was a harmonica. For a fleeting moment, I found myself transported back to a bygone era, to simpler times when Tracy and I would while away the hours on the porch. Her nimble fingers would dance across the keys of her old piano, weaving melodies that harmonized with the plaintive notes I coaxed from my harmonica. It was a relic from our shared past, a tangible symbol of the music that once served as the unbreakable bond between us. A heavy silence settled over us as I grappled with the weight of Tracy's gesture, the significance of her gift hanging palpably in the air. My foreman, sensing the gravity of the moment, shifted uncomfortably, his eyes brimming with unspoken inquiries. Finally, summoning the strength to break the silence, I spoke, my voice a mere whisper laced with raw emotion. It's a harmonica, I uttered softly, my gaze fixed unwaveringly upon the instrument cradled in my hands. My foreman nodded in understanding. Yet the question remained unspoken, lingering in the air like an unyielding echo. Why would Tracy send me a harmonica? What hidden meaning lay behind this unexpected gesture? But in that poignant moment, I found myself bereft of answers, grappling instead with the tumultuous tide of memories that Tracy's gift had stirred within me. It was a poignant reminder that forgiveness, much like the haunting strains of a melody, required patience, practice, and above all, a willingness to embrace the bittersweet symphony of the past.